UFC 302 Makhachev versus Poirier is this weekend. It's a massive card, potentially DP's last chance at a championship. According to him, if you're listening to him, it is. We've got your full card breakdown. We're going to throw in some tidbits about betting and whatnot. We're going to have a little bit of fun. So stick around. Join us. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the 10-7 MMA. I'm your boy, DS. I'm here with my guy, Dino Bam Bam.
What up, DS? I've been excited as hell for UFC 302, man. I'm ready to dive in.
Yo, you need to calm the fuck down.
Oh, okay.
No, I like the enthusiasm. Keep it up, my brother. I'm sorry. I was just kidding. I love you so much. UFC 302. I'm sorry. You were saying we're pumped for it.
Hey, you know.
What else is there to say?
DP's last chance. Hey, Dustin Poirier's last chance. Islam Makhachev defending that number one pound for pound spot. It's a big card.
Islam Makhachev defending for the first time
against a 55er, a legitimate 55er, yeah.
You know.
Hey.
So on top of that, though, we got Mitch Raposo. He's on the card. No, but it's a good card for the most part. You know, we've got a couple throwaway fights. But I'm pumped to be here. I'm pumped to be breaking it down with you. Why do I feel like you're so much further away than I am? You feel me?
Yeah, I'm in the same spot.
Anyway, before we get into all this, you see what the little scrolling thingamajig says. Dino Bam Bam, what does that mean?
Well, that scrolling thing, I'm glad you brought it up because I'm really proud of the work that I did to get that there. I typed it, and there's a thing that makes it do that. So please like and subscribe, guys. We would really appreciate it. Dino, it's pay-per-view time. It's 302. We're 98 cards away from UFC 400. Why don't you let them know what to do? Make the sound of the bell. Make the sound of the bell for them.
Boop.
Guys, that is the sound of the bell. When you ring that bell next to the subscribe button, that's the sound it makes, and that's going to notify you when our videos drop. You can also do like the other scrolling thing down there says, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at the107MMA. Same way it's spelled on this goddamn channel. We're dropping a bunch of content this week, so stay tuned. It's going to be fun times.
What if it goes whoop whoop? What's the sound of that? That's the sound of
the police.
Exactly.
If you know, you know.
That. But let's get right into it. I believe we've got 12 fights on the docket.
Yep.
For this coming Saturday. And the first one, no odds on it, as you can see. And of course, we're talking about the first fight of the night, Andre Lima taking on Mitch Raposo. Andre Lima of being bit and then getting it tattooed fame very recently. So, you know, the most damage that he took. No, I mean, it was a good fight until it wasn't.
Right.
But what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you stole the thunder a little bit, but that's the first thing that comes to mind, right? Andre Lima, the guy who got bit right here, got a tattoo, got a $50,000 bonus from Dana for being.
Would you have gotten that tattoo?
Maybe. You know what I mean? Like, bro, they're fighters. They don't give a shit. They're tatted up anyways. Might as well. Like, it's a cool ass story, right?
He doesn't have all that many.
I'm just
he's
saying.
He's not like a super tatted guy.
Right, but tats should be about the story. That's what tattoo should mean something. And shit, you know, that's a cool ass moment that he's never gonna forget. So fucking get the tattoo.
Another man stuck his fangs into you, and you're like, I need to remember this forever.
And I got 50 racks because of it. You know, if you want to come bite me and give me $50,000, Dino,
bro.
Hey, offer stands to all the viewers, by the way. I'll take.
I'll let anybody think of the dirtiest motherfucker you know. I'll let that motherfucker bite me right now.
I'm
for
saying
50 G's, bro, I'll do it for 5 G's. I'll let the nasty. I'll go outside right now, find somebody to bite me for 5 G's.
There's some crackheads in your area. Be careful.
There are, though. You know? Yeah, there are for sure. And God bless them. You know, like whatever. Yeah. But let's get right into it, man. Let me know what you think about the actual fight.
All right, so Andre Lima, man, in that fight, besides the ability to get bit, he showed us some good striking, man. Nice combos, slick on the feet, good power. He's young. I'm interested to see what he looks like here when he's not fucking being bit, to be honest with you. I want to see more from the kid before I, like, really, you know, give my judgment on him. But, like, he seems like a pretty good prospect. He's taking on Mitch Raposo, first overall pick on the Ultimate Fighter Season 29. That was Team Volkanovski. By the way, Dino, tough starts next week with Grasso and Shevchenko. I'm excited for that. But he's making his UFC debut here on pretty short notice. Happy to see the guy make the big show. You may also remember Mitch Raposo from Dancing with the Stars. He was on that. He lost to Jake Hadley. That was when Jake Hadley like missed weight. There was that whole dilemma. So that was him. I mean, to me, Dino, this is really just about the eye test, right? Andre Lima looked good in the UFC against, yes, a young guy who got disqualified and kicked out of the UFC, but a kid that probably earned his way into the UFC that deserved to be there, versus a guy in Mitch Raposo who lost to Ludwig Shaolin on the Ultimate Fighter, who lost to the British gentleman that I just mentioned a little earlier on Dancing with the Stars, Mitch Hadley. By the way, shout out Jake Hadley, Mitch Raposo, Jake Hadley. Shout out Energy for beating the shit out of that guy, by the way. But yeah, look, it's eye test, man. Raposo's getting in here on short notice. He's been beating up some cans on the regional scene. I'm just going Andre Lima. This is strictly an eye test thing. I bet if the odds were out, he'd be a big favorite. And when they do drop, I expect them to be a big favorite. Give me Lima by decision.
Yeah, I agree with you. You pretty much said everything that there really is to say here. There's not a ton of tape on either of these guys. They're both 25 years old. Mitch Raposo, I mean, you can ask why is he here really at this point? You know, as he's like you said, he's beaten mostly cans, hasn't shown a ton as far as the eye test. You know, I wasn't like a huge fan on the Dancing with the Stars, as you said, on the regional scene, fought mostly cans. The Jake Hadley loss, if it was like, you know, if it was Jake Hadley coming in to the UFC after that with the hype that he had, maybe I would feel a little bit differently. But, you know, now kind of knowing that Jake Hadley is maybe at best a mediocre fighter in the division, I can't possibly pick him. Andre Lima's the pick here. He's got powerful punches. He's got really good takedown defense, ability to get back up and pop right back up too. He's very athletic. He's explosive. You know, we'll see. They're both very raw fighters. Anything can happen, but I'm quite comfortable taking Andre Lima here. I'll take him by decision, but I'm very comfortable, and I would smash the money line on that. I don't even know what the odds are. I don't think they'll be too outlandish. I think Mitch Raposo does come with a little bit of hype of his own for whatever reason, but yeah, I'm easily taking Lima here. I agree with you fully.
All right, so we're on the same page here for the first fight. I love when that happens. That's usually a sign of good things to come.
Is it?
I don't know. I'm trying to be fucking optimistic.
Yeah, I respect that, and there's nothing wrong with that. Moving on, next fight of the night, and this is like a true, like, hell in a cell, brother. This is like a grudge match. These ladies have serious beef. I'm talking about Jocelyn Edwards. She's taking on UFC fighter and OnlyFans model Ailin Perez. First of all, did you see the Paulo Costa thing where like she posted some shit and he commented, she's like, you want to basically like, are you trying to do a movie type shit?
Yeah, that's insane. And they're in the same hotel. So
oh shit. Captain Eric, if you're seeing this, please shed some light on that. I want to know if Paulo Costa broke off Ailin Perez. She is all of like fucking 130 pounds and 5'4". So that would, you know, good for her.
Imagine Ailin Perez on the secret juice, do you know?
Man, that would be something. I just want to say both these ladies, thick as fuck, not taking anything away from their MMA abilities. Are they the best, highest level fighters? No, but I'm kind of excited for this one. I love when there's a little bit of bad blood. If you don't recall, when Ailin Perez fought, was it Lucy Pudilova? Yeah, when she fought Lucy Pudilova, her last fight, she came out with like a black eye off the bat, and Jocelyn Edwards fucking Chris Jericho'd her in the backstage. Like, I forgot it's like a Raw segment. She got fucking hit with like a chair in the background in the corridors and shit. I don't know exactly what went down, but you know, she made it a whole scene. Probably shouldn't be attacking people outside of the cage. But listen, Jocelyn Edwards, a lot rangier. She's got 4 inches of reach, 3 inches of height. I'm not super impressed by either of these. For me, skill for skill, I mean, in the stand-up, neither of them are really anything special in my opinion. But skill for skill on the ground, I think the biggest skill advantage or disadvantage comes in the grappling and the wrestling. Ailin Perez was able to take down Lucy Pudilova and pretty much control her on the ground. When Pudilova fought Jocelyn Edwards, she was able to take Jocelyn Edwards down and kind of control her on the ground for a little bit. So, you know, MMA math, right? We talk about it all the time. Who knows? But for me, I don't think the striking advantage for Jocelyn Edwards is enough. I gotta go with Ailin Perez. I don't like these odds at all. I'll tell you that right now. I would have made this kind of a pick 'em. I have a feeling I know who you're gonna pick. But give me Ailin Perez in like a split decision. She ends up winning maybe the first 2 rounds, loses the third round, and just kind of controlling, and then maybe she gets a few shots landed under the third round. But I'm going to go with Island Perez, but I'm not particularly confident in this one, and I'm certainly not betting it.
Yeah, how can you be confident in, you already broke it down. It's a lower level women's MMA fight in the UFC. Like, how can you be too confident about it? You can't. The only thing that's given me some confidence in this, Dino, is the fact that in the backstage area, in that Raw segment, Jocelyn Edwards was supposedly beating the shit out of Island Perez to where Perez's coach had to come choke out Jocelyn Edwards while she was
Yeah, but
beating
if
her
you
up.
get fucking snake shotted, you know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, we don't know the whole story. But regardless, I'll take the size, the length of Jocelyn Edwards, man. You know she's a little bit of a my girl. At this point, a huge underdog at plus 210. Plus, she's got the size advantage, and she already kind of got a little bit of her lick backstage. I think it's going to be a fun, dirty, scrappy-ass fight. I don't think it's going to be the most technical thing, but it will be fun and like catty for what it's worth, right? So give me Jocelyn Edwards. I'll take her by decision. Again, am I comfortable? No, but I'm probably more comfortable than you because I'm picking the dog here. And, worst comes to worst, I'm doubling up on my money.
Yeah, if I was going to bet anything, this is the definition of a dog or pass situation here. I think there could be some value, and this is like, I'm not talking safe, right? When we're talking, typically we're talking about like shit that could actually like make sense.
Yeah.
But this is fighting, obviously not a super high skill level. If you're going to do anything, I would sprinkle a little bit on Jocelyn Edwards. I do agree with you there, and I'm literally 50-50 on this. So
same shit.
I could end up changing my mind. What's up?
Same shit.
Yeah, 100%. Moving on. Next fight on the card is Mickey Gall, which, what the fuck? First of all, I was tripping off the fact that Mickey Gall is only 7. He only has 7 wins, 7-5. Okay. You think Basil Hafez, who's his opponent, who looked good versus JDM, man. I mean, say what you will. Was it a fluke? He's been out for a long time, but Mickey Gall, I was first and foremost shocked that he's even in the UFC still. But give me your take on this one.
Yeah, look, I mean, let's be serious, right? Did Mickey Gall ever deserve to be in the UFC? I don't know that he did. He was obviously brought in to fight CM Punk, so that's how long ago Mickey Gall
was that his first UFC fight?
That was his first UFC fight, man. He was brought in to fight CM Punk, and then I just want to make sure that I'm not wrong. No, I'm sorry, it was his second fight. Mike Jackson was the first. So
that's right.
Regardless, man, a winning record in the UFC, but all his wins are against cans. His losses have been to some okay people, but like the wins have zero weight. There's no name value in them at all. I don't want to shit on Mickey Gall too much, but like the guy never really deserved to be here. There was like a little bit of hype with him. There was a little bit of fame after, fighting CM Punk, but it's just like, dude, the guy never really belonged. So I don't really get the matchmaking, nor do I get the odds here because he's fighting Basil Hafez, who should be, I think, way more than a minus 290, and Mickey Gall should be way more than a plus 225. Hafez is a solid prospect. As you mentioned in his short notice debut, he fought Jack Della Maddalena to a very, very damn close fight, man. A close split decision that really put him on the mainstream fans' radar. But when you talk to a lot of these guys that have been training with Basil Hafez for years, they're like, man, we know he's legit. This guy is really like that. You mentioned a long layoff, man. So I am a little interested to see how he looks off of that. But come on, dude. This is all eye test. Basil Hafez is a legitimate prospect, whereas Mickey Gall has been in the UFC for years and years and never really belonged here. This is Basil Hafez all day. Probably the most comfortable pick on the card, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, man. I mean, there's really not much to be said here. This, to me, is you have a guy who almost beat, however you want to phrase it, almost beat JDM. At least it was a very, very close fight, much closer than many people expected it to be. I fully agree with you. The odds seem off here. Basil Hafez, I do believe that there's value here. One of the gimmies of the card, in my opinion. So, of course, Mickey Gall's probably going to knock him out now. Mickey Gall, again, I was surprised he's still in the UFC. He doesn't have the skills. Basil Hafez has fought a ranked opponent at this point who has a lot of hype behind him, probably the most hyped prospect in the division. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a massive, massive upset if Hafez lost at this point. I'm taking him very, very comfortably here. I think he'll end up getting the submission probably in the late first round. The layoff, sure, but I just think there's such a big skill difference here that I'm still quite comfortable taking him here, not thinking twice about it. Smash that money line there.
Yeah, I'm taking him by first round finish as well. I do want to say this though, Dino, not to take anything away from Hafez here. Jack Della Maddalena, for what it's worth, was on a little bit of a weird, he was in a weird
Yeah,
situation
he's
at
been
the time.
off.
Fights canceled. He seemed off because he had like 2 fights canceled, like back-to-back weeks or something. He did multiple weight cuts, but still, Hafez looked really legitimate against not just the contender in the division, but for a lot of people, the next champion in that division, right? That guy's a future title contender. He's 1 fight away from a title. So very impressive.
No doubt. No doubt. I'm not gonna lie. I coming in watching film on him as before his first fight. I wasn't like particularly high on him, and he took that on short notice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but like I wasn't super high on him. He's 32. He only had like 10 fight or 12 fights, whatever it was. But you know what? He put on enough of a decent performance, even if it was a less than 100% JDM. You don't just look into the kind of performance that he put on. It wasn't like a lucky shot or something like that.
It was impressive, man. He did really well in that fight.
You said it, brother. You said it. I was going to say some sus shit, but I just held myself back. Let's get to the next fight, and it is the 4th fight of the night. We're talking about Niko Price taking on Alex Morono, and this is kind of a fight of like pretty decent guys who are probably mostly mid at this point in the welterweight division. Niko Price, known for his knockouts and his weird kind of striking, unorthodox striking. He is a finisher, be finished kind of guy. And to me, Alex Morono, I mean, sure, he has some finishes, but, he is kind of like in a way, the opposite. At least he kind of has been. He's he's not as intense. Let's say the intensity level is much, much lower with Alex Morono. He's a lot more calculated, methodical, let's say, whereas Niko Price is just a wild man. Niko Price did not look impressive at all. We were there, obviously. One of my favorite moments of last year. I'm talking about the Robbie Lawler retirement fight. That was amazing for me as a Robbie Lawler fan to watch. But Niko Price, I don't want to say he threw the fight, but it did not look super impressive from him. Is his chin just gone? So I have a little bit of worries there. But I'm going to take Niko Price here, man. I just, I don't know. Like I'm not feeling Alex Morono recently. Sure, he's good technically. He's got good fundamentals, but he just doesn't really go for it. And in terms of who's going to be putting on the pressure, I got to go with Niko Price here, man. For what it's worth, too, this is a rematch. These guys fought in 2017. Niko Price got the knockout, but then it was overturned to a no contest. Why was that? I don't remember why that was now.
He was smoking the ganja.
That's right, over some fucking weed. So obviously that it was like he has a loss. Like Morono lost. So yeah, we'll see. Niko Price has looked worse recently, especially in that Robbie Lawler fight. But I'm gonna take him by decision here. I'm not like super, super duper confident in it, to be quite honest with you, especially he's a plus 210 underdog. But I like the odds here and I'm going with him.
All right. Sorry, I lost my place here. Good shit, look, so Niko Price, obviously a my boy. Alex Morono, I think I've been pretty adamant that he's not a my boy. I mean, you broke it down, right? Skill for skill, style for style. You broke down exactly who they are. Niko Price with the knockout last time, which again got turned to a no contest. But that was in 2017, Niko Price, clearly not the same fighter that he was in 2017. He had like a downfall.
Which is crazy. He's not like old like that.
Yeah, he's not like super old, but we've
34.
Seen him. Yeah, not like super old for the division. We've seen him live twice in the last couple of years. We saw him at 264 versus Michal Pereira. He looked okay in that one until he didn't. And then last time out, as you mentioned, against Robbie Lawler, one of the weirdest knockouts you'll ever see. I was sitting with my mom at the fights, and she looks at me and she's like, dude, that's fake. He's faking it. She called it a dive. So a lot of people, think it was a dive, Dino. I saw Guru talking about it being a dive. It might be, dude. I don't want to put that on Niko Price or put that out there. I
also don't want to take that away from Robbie Lawler.
Or take that away from Robbie.
If it wasn't,
Right. I feel you,
weirder
man.
things have happened. You could say every Kennedy Nzechukwu loss as a fucking throw then.
True. I feel that the punches, the little uppercuts looked weak, but who knows? So I'm going to go based off that being a real thing. And if that's a real thing, Dino, that leads me to believe that Niko's chin is gone at this point in his career. I hate to say it, but if that's the case, man, I got to pick Alex Morono. He's the better technical guy. I think if he survives a little bit of a flurry from Niko Price early on in this fight, he's going to out-technique him to a win. And I think he ends up finishing Niko Price in the second round. So I'll go late round 2 KO for Alex Morono. Picking against my boy, which I don't love doing.
I feel you. But I get it, though. You know, that's a tough one. I don't know that I would throw much money on that. I certainly wouldn't put it in a parlay. I might sprinkle a little on Niko, but yeah, that's a tough one overall. So anyway, moving on. Next fight of the night, we've got Phil, the Fresh Prince Rowe, taking on Jake Matthews at 170 as well. 2 back-to-back welterweight fights. What do you think about this one?
2 back-to-back welterweight fights. Walter White. Shout out Walter White. I think I'm wearing a Breaking Bad t-shirt under here.
Damn, bust it open, babe.
Yeah, I am. That's Walter White, believe it or not. But anyways, yeah, look, the Fresh Prince, Phil Rowe, man, long-bodied striker with some decent knockout power. Dino, great jab, does a great job utilizing his length. He's obviously the taller fighter in 95% of the fights that he's in. His ground game is kind of mid, but it seems to be something that he's been improving on. I know he's been grappling a ton as of late. He's been doing like all the competitions and shit. So and
his ass busted, but he's been doing them.
Right, he's been doing them, so that shows some commitment. And then he's taking on Jake Matthews, a well-rounded fighter, a decent striker himself, but he's really more of a grappler who's convinced us that he's a striker as of late, right? It was the Andre.
He had me convinced, brother. After that Fialho fight, he had me convinced.
That's what I'm saying. So after that Andre Fialho fight, which I think was on this card right here, man, he looked like a world beater. I was like, holy shit, Jake Matthews is back. He's finally becoming that guy that we thought he could be and all that. But then it turns out that really it was probably just fighting Andre Fialho. Everybody's been knocking Fialho out. I was actually watching the Abu Dhabi card a couple weeks ago, the whatever their league is over there, I forget, UAE Warriors, and Fialho was just randomly on the card. He was like the feature fight. He got knocked out in like 30 seconds. So
no shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, that's just the story of Andre Fialho. I don't want to take anything away from Jake Matthews, but it is what it is. Jake Matthews is a fighter that looks the part, Dino. He has the skills, but really just some bad decision-making has kind of been his downfall and some inactivity, to be honest with you. I'm not really comfortable in it, but I'm trusting Phil Rowe. I feel like he's going to be able to use his length and then get into those clinch situations where he could do really well for himself, because I don't think he'll worry about the takedowns of Jake Matthews as much because he's been grappling so much that he can get it into that clinch situation. So, yeah, give me Phil Rowe. I think he wins a decision in this one. Some dirty boxing and some elbows inside the clinch.
Yeah, listen, man. Like you said last fight, you don't like picking against your boy. Jake Matthews is my boy. I was really excited. I mean, he's got the look. His striking looked goddamn impressive, man. Impressive versus Fialho. And like you said, he started off as more of a good wrestler, a good jiu-jitsu guy. So then I was like, oh shit, he's like actually fucking decent in the striking. Turns out maybe not as good as I originally thought. Very, very inconsistent. You could say that both of these guys have been pretty inconsistent at times, but man, the odds are swaying me a little bit too. Plus 135 for Phil Rowe. I could see them even growing a little bit bigger. I like Jake Matthews a lot, man. I'm not a huge Phil Rowe fan for what it is. I don't think either of these guys are, realistically that amazing at this point of their careers. Phil Rowe has a loss to Neil Magny. Do with that what you will, but I'm kind of curious. Like, it's curious to me that Jake Matthews is the favorite here. So I got to take Phil Rowe. I'm going to take him by decision. I don't really see a finish in this fight in general. One thing, I don't know if you mentioned it, 4-inch reach advantage, but an 4-inch height advantage, 8 fucking inch reach advantage. That's just crazy. I think that will come into play. Jake Matthews, if he wants to really win this fight, I think his best bet is to wrestle, right? And just take him down and try to keep him there, do some damage. I just don't really see him doing that for long, at least. So I'm taking Phil Rowe as well. I'll take him by decision. Not particularly confident in it, but the plus money, I'll take that.
One thing to add in here, Dino, the loss to Phil Rowe was on a little bit of a hot streak before he lost to Neil Magny, right? And a lot of the kind of like hate on Phil Rowe has come, because of that Neil Magny fight. A couple things to notice. Number one, that's the first time, at least in a long time, that Phil Rowe has faced somebody his height. So maybe that's something he struggles with. Matthews definitely a shorter fighter. And like you said, Rowe going to have a huge reach advantage. And another thing, man, let's not take anything away from Neil Magny, dude. Like, he is what he is. He is that veteran. He is that gatekeeper. He's been beating these prospects forever, and he's just going to continue to do that. So I'm not I'm not going to do the whole "you're only as good as your last fight" thing with Phil Rowe is all I'm saying. I want to see what he does, and then we can start really talking about who he is after this fight.
I respect that. Moving on. Next fight, Grant Dawson taking on Joe Solecki at 155. This is an interesting matchup, man. Rarely does the UFC give us a true grappler versus grappler matchup these days, especially on a pay-per-view. I am not a huge Joe Solecki supporter, fan. Yes, he's got great jiu-jitsu and grappling, but Grant Dawson does too, man. That's where Grant Dawson is at his best, and his ability to control opponents on the ground. Last time out, he got fucked up by Bobby Green. Is his chin sus? Maybe it is. I don't have the answer to that right now, but I don't really need the answer to that versus somebody like Joe Solecki. Joe Solecki, some of the worst striking in the entire division, in my opinion. Grant Dawson should have the advantage. You know, even though they're both specialists in the grappling, I will still take Grant Dawson in the grappling personally. I just think his wrestling is better. Joe Solecki might have the better jiu-jitsu potentially. On the feet, I think Grant Dawson's better. Neither of these guys are anything special whatsoever, and that's being polite and nice. On the feet, I'm taking Grant Dawson, man. I'll take him. I think Joe Solecki could probably survive, but I just see Grant Dawson controlling him on the ground for the most part. Minus 320. I mean, that kind of tells you, what Vegas and what the odds makers in general think of them. I'm taking Grant Dawson here. I don't really see a finish. I'll do it by decision, but I'm fairly comfortable in this one.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, man. Again, I'm going to stay on that theme of I'm not going with, you're only as good as your last fight. Because if you did that with Grant Dawson, he looked fucking terrible, man. He got knocked out in a couple of seconds against Bobby Green. It's going to be really interesting to see him bounce back here, Dino, to see what he does. Before that, like a lot of people were saying that Grant Dawson is going to be a contender in this lightweight division. A lot of comparisons to Gamrot. Still a fight I'd love to see him and Gamrot, but I do they're teammates, so I don't think that ever happens. But regardless, I mean, if you look at the resume before that, it's pretty good. Demiris Magulov, he took the O from Marco Madsen, a Jared Gordon win earlier in his in his career. Derek Minner, Mike Trezano, Julian Juicy J. Arosa. Like some solid wins. Are they the best guys in the world? No. He had a fight booked against Diego Ferreira. Would have loved to see how that played out, especially because that's a guy with really good jiu-jitsu. And as we've seen, especially as of late, some damn good striking that he's been able to add on late in his career. Joe Solecki, one-dimensional, man. He is that jiu-jitsu guy. Yes, he's a dangerous submission artist. He can handle himself on the ground with damn near anyone. But you said it, dude. He has no striking. Probably the worst striker in the division. Pound for pound, one of the worst strikers in all of men's UFC. So look, I think this fight stays on the feet for a bit. Grant Dawson shows us a little bit of the stand-up that we think he's lacking. And then, like you said, he just takes this fight to the ground, stays comfortable on top, just stays heavy and rides out a decision. Very confident in this one. Again, the only question mark, and again, my friend, you said it, the chin. Is it sus? We don't know, but I don't think that Joe Solecki has the power to really let us know that.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll find out. This, despite it being grappler versus grappler, is certainly an interesting matchup. So, next fight, we've got some middleweights on the docket next. This is the last of the prelims. I'm talking about Roman Kopylov, the Russian. He is taking on the Brazilian Cesar Almeida. What do you think about this one, brother?
Yes, sir. All right, so let's start with Russian Chase Hooper, Roman Kopylov. You know I love Roman Kopylov. Super talented kickboxer, Dino. He was on a nasty win streak before his last fight where he got out grappled and submitted by Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, who, by the way, is an absolute dog. It basically proved what a lot of his naysayers were saying about Roman Kopylov, is he's one-dimensional. He only has the kickboxing, and, he'll get dominated by any grappler that's worth anything, and that's not taking anything away from Fluffy Hernandez. He's a dominant grappler, but kind of proved their point. Then you talk about good strikers, and you have his opponent in Cesar Almeida, a guy who's a world champion kickboxer, a guy that's fought Poatan Alex Pereira 3 times in kickboxing and holds a win against Alex Pereira in kickboxing.
And even his losses never finished.
That's what I'm saying.
Decision.
Yeah, so that fact alone should let you know what level of striker this guy is. And then in his UFC debut, they give him Dylan Budka, who is a grappler. So the UFC tries to give him that tough kind of, that tough stylistic matchup to see if he can handle himself. And he handled himself very well in that situation. Good takedown defense. He won that fight. Look, I love Roman Kopylov. I really think in order to win this fight, he's going to have to take it to the ground. I don't know that he has the ability to take the fight to the ground, nor do I think that Almeida's defense, the takedown defense, will allow Roman Kopylov to take this fight to the ground. So I'm taking Cesar Almeida. I'm picking against some my boys on this card, and I really don't like doing it, but I think he gets a second round TKO, drops Kopylov, and then finishes him off with some ground and pound.
Yeah, listen, you great breakdown overall, Dino. I agree with you once again, bro. I really wanted to take Roman Kopylov here. We know that his MMA striking ability is pretty good, but he's never too flashy. At times, he's a little bit more of a counter striker. I don't know if he'll have the liberty to wait and strike second against somebody like Cesar Almeida. So, I mean, man, yes, he's 36 years old. Yes, we've seen a lot of guys coming into the UFC getting fraud checked, especially recently. So it's certainly possible that I'm totally off, that you're totally off on this one.
Yeah.
But, man, the pure striking, and realistically, I don't expect this fight to get to the ground too much. And if it does, it's not like Kopylov is like a world ender there. Cesar Almeida showed, they gave him a grappler in Dana White's Contender Series, like you mentioned. So I got to go with Almeida too, man. I'm not like super duper confident in it. But from a pure striking perspective, where I expect this to take place, I gotta agree with you, man. I'm taking Cesar Almeida. The odds aren't too wide, but the fact that he's the underdog too just adds to that and kind of solidifies my decision there.
Yeah, what's your method here on this one? You think it's a knockout or does it go 3 rounds?
I think a knockout. I think I'm gonna say second round TKO. I think he drops him and then finishes him off on the ground with strikes.
Just like I said, baby, let's get it.
There you go. Yeah. Moving on. Next fight of the night, and you're talking about another your boy. We're talking about Randy Rude Boy Brown. Another welterweight fight. A lot of welterweight fights on this one. He is taking on Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, who is a plus 130 underdog here. He is, of course, 37 and a half years old. Randy Brown, no spring chicken, almost 34. He's literally the same age as me, so saying that he's not a spring chicken feels hurtful to myself. Your birthday is literally in 10 days. So for what it's worth, you're even older than I am. But in any case, this is me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this should be a fun fight, man. Randy Brown, long, rangy, athletic striker. You could kind of say the same for both of these guys. Obviously, Randy Brown is 6'3", so we're talking about 6'3" versus 5'11". There's a big difference there. Randy Brown also has a 5-inch reach advantage. So for me, those things are really going to come into play. The significant reach advantage, and Randy Brown very good at maintaining distance. And a lot of tall guys are not that, right? They don't have that skill as much as Randy Brown does. He actually knows how to use his length. Dos Santos, another very dynamic striker, a little bit more unorthodox, a little bit less technical, let's say. He's super aggressive at times. He'll press you. He'll throw a lot of spitting shit, and he's got power, man. When he lands, it could be lights out. But Randy Brown, I think, is just too smart for that. He has been a little bit inconsistent too. Plus, we saw what's his name, bro? The guy, 145 Brazilian guy. Why am I tripping? Legend.
Aldo.
Nah, bro. Spinning kicks, whatever.
Edson Barbosa. Edson
Barbosa. Yeah, we saw Edson Barbosa kind of be on a run, and then all of a sudden just kind of fall off. I'm not saying Elizeu dos Santos is the same kind of level striker, but man, 37 years old, at some point he's gonna fall off. Again, Randy Brown, not super young either, but the reach advantage, the height advantage, the fact that this is definitely gonna stay on the feet. Of course, Dos Santos can land a spinning back kick to the goddamn jaw, and Randy Brown is gonna go out cold, and it's over. But I just expect Randy Brown to just land the better shots, be more athletic, have the better cardio, stay moving, land better shots overall on the feet. I think it'll be a fairly close fight, but I got to go with Randy Brown, man. I'm going to go Randy Brown by decision in this one. I'm noticing I'm not seeing a lot of finishes on this card so far.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you in terms of who's going to win this fight. I think Randy Brown wins it. I do want to clarify, though. Randy Brown and my boy, Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, my boy as well, man. A super impressive fighter. Again, inactivity, dude. You look at his resume and you see some pretty good wins on there. I mean, last time out, he had the draw with Renat Fakhretdinov. No one was really giving him a chance in that one. Solid performance. Didn't embarrass himself at all. Before that, beat Abubakar Nurmagomedov, and before that, a win against Benoit Saint Denis in the UFC. So impressive resume, but the age, like you said, probably catches up to you at one point. He does throw big ass loopy shots, and we've seen Randy Brown knocked out.
Shout out Lupi Godinez.
Shout out Loopy. That gives me a little bit of hesitation in picking Randy Brown here. But like you said, I think he's just too smart. I think he's going to play at range, play this fight safe. I don't really see this going to the ground. And if that's the case, I do have to pick Randy Brown. He's the taller, longer striker, good straight shots, and against an opponent who's much shorter than him, who throws loopy, who leaves himself exposed. I'm seeing Randy Brown finding a knockout in this fight, to be honest with you, Dino. I'm going round 2 KO, straight right hand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? Look
Who's
at it.
to say?
Look at us.
Who's to say? All right, let's move on then. We've got our first heavyweight fight on the card, and I think the only heavyweight fight on the card. Yep. That's correct. And somebody who's barely a heavyweight, Jailton Almeida, he has taken on renowned fat man Alexandr Romanov. Bro, balloons more than any other guy. He's come in with a different physique every fucking time he comes to fight. Dino Bam Bam, what do you think about this fight?
Yeah, let's start with Jailton Almeida, man. A wet blanket of a grappler, Dino, who thankfully last time out was fraud checked by my boy Curtis Razor Blades. It really looked like we were in for a hell of a boring ride with this guy, right? He was dominating everybody at heavyweight because it is what it is. At heavyweight, none of these guys can grapple. So if you come in there and you have some good wrestling and some solid jiu-jitsu and you're able to just hold people on the ground, you're going to be fucking dominant. Like, you're going to be dominant. So you always say it, if you're like a big ass kid, or if you have your son and he's just like a large boy, throw his ass in the MMA, that guy could be a world champion. But really, man, he was threatening to move back down to 205, Dino. So we were really going to be like in a weird situation with this guy where he could have been at the top of 2 divisions. And I don't want to shit on him because it's impressive what he was doing, but the guy's just boring. Like, there are grapplers that are fun grapplers. And then, the casual take is, well, you don't like it, go watch Muay Thai, go watch kickboxing. It's not about that. There are grapplers that are boring. I know you always say it about my boy Merab Dvalishvili. I get it. I just like Merab. But to a lot of people, that style can be really boring. And that's what Jailton Almeida is. He was just that version of a heavyweight. Glad he got fraud checked. But look, as you said, Alexandr Romanov, he's just like a thick boy who comes in there with no type of cardio. He doesn't really have the ability to stop takedowns. So to me, it's very clear that Jailton Almeida is going to win this fight via the wrestling that is very boring. I think Romanov gets exhausted early in this fight. I think he gets taken down early in this fight. And I think Almeida, I don't know if he gets the finish. I think he just rides out a boring decision. The only hope, and this is for Almeida haters out there, the only hope we have is that Alexandr Romanov catches this guy on the chin, and we find out he just doesn't have a good chin, or Curtis Blades cracked it. But besides that, Jailton Almeida minus 300, I get it. I think he gets a very easy, boring, unanimous decision.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I fully 100% agree with you. Style, method, and winner. Jailton Almeida, I think, is just going to, like you said, wet blanket him, lay on him. I think he's going to get him down early and keep him there. Alexandr Romanov has no type of cardio. He's fat and sloppy. I mean, we'll see what he looks like at the weigh-ins, but I have he's never given me a reason to believe in him. He's 33 and a half years old at this point. He's the older fighter. Jailton Almeida, strong as shit, even though he's undersized for the division. We've seen him fighting a lot more reserved and just kind of going for wins. And clearly, like we see a lot of time, unfortunately, with fighters who get to the top of a division and want to stay there. It's unfortunate to see, but that's just, that's what's incentivized essentially, right? To some extent. Obviously Dana White will take care of you even more if you do it in impressive fashion. But yeah, Alexandr Romanov, we haven't seen him in a hot minute. Jailton Almeida, is it too soon? Is the chin sus? Maybe. Alexandr Romanov is slow as shit though. Jailton Almeida is faster on the feet too. I got to go with him. I agree with you. I think he's going to play it safe. I see a decision win as well.
And how boring.
I could see it being one of the more boring fights, which is unfortunate because as far as like physically, you look at these two big ass guys in different ways, and you're like, that could be fun, but probably not. Anyway, next fight of the night, we've got Kevin Holland. He's at 185. He is taking on. This is his first fight back at 185, right?
Yeah, I think this is the first fight back up, but he's been bouncing.
And it's which is weird because he was doing pretty good at welterweight, but okay. So this is like what gives me pause with this fight is like, is he just fucking lazy? You know, like that. Like that's my question here. So it's Kevin Holland. He's taking on Michal Oleksiejczuk. Is this me on this one, Dino? By the way,
this is you, brother.
Yeah. I've gone back and forth on this one, man. On paper, I expect Kevin Holland to be the better fighter. He has more power. He is rangier. You know, his grappling is pretty damn good, man. He might fuck around and have a grappling advantage, you know. But Michal Oleksiejczuk is gritty as shit, man. Now, you know, it's interesting, right? For me, the biggest question mark in this fight is Kevin Holland. Is he moving up because he didn't like cutting weight and now he's going to have even better cardio? He's going to be stronger. Or is it just a matter of Kevin Holland? Because we've seen it before. We've seen it before where he almost doesn't seem to take the shit too seriously. He makes excuses for nobody but himself internally, where it almost feels like he's coping, right? So we'll see, man. I'm still going to pick him. I'm still going to go Kevin Holland here. I'm a little nervous about it, right? Because he's got all the power. We've seen Michal Oleksiejczuk, you know, like this. Kevin Holland should beat him, right? We've seen what kind of fighter both these guys are. Kevin Holland should win this fight. But I'm just a little curious, man. Why is he moving back up after having a pretty good run at welterweight? It's tough. It's tough for me. Who has the competitive advantage? Michal Oleksiejczuk, I think, is taking this a lot more seriously. But, man, I'm going with Kevin Holland. I still do believe in him to whatever extent. But, yeah. I'm wishy-washy on this one, but I'm going to take Kevin Holland. I'm going to take him by decision. I think Oleksiejczuk is strong enough, is gritty enough to be able to last. But, man, I'm a little worried overall, but I'm taking Kevin Holland.
All right, so Kevin Holland, man, in his return to 185, last time out, Dino, we saw him against MVP Michael Venom Page. I predicted MVP to win that fight, and he outclassed him. And it goes to the competitive thing that you were talking about. In that third round, it looked like Kevin Holland did not want to be there at all. You never know which Kevin Holland you're going to get, right? Of course, he had that pandemic era stretch where, you know, Call Big Mouth and all that shit was happening, and Kevin Holland was a top 10 star in the UFC, right? It was a very impressive time for him. He was knocking everybody out. But since then, we've seen a different Kevin Holland. Like, you know, you want to say the Hamza fight, it's hard to take that, like, it's hard to really, like, take that with a grain of salt to me because, like, yes, it was Hamza. Yes, he's scary. Yes, he should dominate Kevin Holland on the ground, but it was like he didn't do anything. You basically did what Reese McKee and those guys did at the beginning, and you didn't touch the guy and got choked out in 4 seconds. So it's like, what's the difference between you and them, right? I think at this point,
it looked very clearly like I think what you're trying to say is he came to terms with that and like it was almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy where he like once it got to that point he was like, all right, well, I don't want to get hurt anymore, just end it.
Against MVP for sure that, and against Hamza he had some decent scrambles, but like nothing came of it. And again, I think he just gave up at some point. And I do think you're right. I think at this point, you know, he's taking these fights and he's all about a paycheck, man. I know he's been running with Terrence McKinney. And I feel like he might even be in Terrence McKinney's ear, man, telling that kid to take a bunch of fights and shit. And I don't really like that for Terrence McKinney. I think T-Rex needs to take himself like a little break. He's going down that Kevin Holland path. Kevin Holland is a dog, man. He's got power. He's super fucking rangy, and he can really put anyone's lights out in the division. But wishy-washy, man. And then Michal Oleksiejczuk didn't look great last time out against Michel Pereira, but I've been singing his praises ever since he moved up to middleweight. He's looked unfucking real. Super scary prospect. I think Michal Oleksiejczuk needs to play this fight smart, and he has a good chance at winning it if he does that. He's a good enough striker to stay safe for a little bit. I don't think he could stay safe if this fight stays on the feet for 15 minutes. I don't see him staying safe at all. I think he gets knocked out. I think if he grapples Kevin Holland, who does have surprisingly good grappling and especially defensive grappling, if he's able to do that, he can win this fight. I don't really love the pick. I'm in the same boat as you are. I'm really 50-50 on this one, but I'm going to go with Oleksiejczuk, man. I just cannot trust Kevin Holland anymore, Dino, after he said he's not here for belts. He's not here to win. He's just here for money and paychecks and shit. I don't like that mentality at all. He took this fight on super short notice. So I will also go decision, but I'll go the opposite way. Am I confident in it? No, but I'm picking Oleksiejczuk.
I respect it, man. I get it. All right, co-main event time, man. Sean Strickland taking on Paulo Costa.
Don't you just fucking love this? Like, isn't this just this is what the fuck UFC, like, this is what the UFC should be.
There's no way this isn't going to be a fun fight, but what do you think?
Yeah, love the matchmaking. Holy shit, what a fucking banger. I want to start by saying this, Dino, in another...
We're gonna do a separate video on this, yeah?
Yeah, we will.
We're going to go into super depth right now. Then.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into like crazy depth, but I just want to say in another universe, Sean Strickland is still the champion of the world, right? And it could be this fucking universe because he might have won that fight against DDP. It was super close, super weird scoring from everybody around the MMA community. The judges, obviously, 2 of them gave it to Duplessis, 1 gave it to Strickland. We had Charles Energy Johnson on the show. He scored it 5-0 for Duplessis, which to me was nuts. But, you know, shit, it is what it is. I saw it 3-2 for Strickland. Regardless, he could still be the champion, but look at what a difference that makes, right? He could have been champion versus now he's fighting for his fucking life against Boachinha. We don't really need to break down Sean Strickland. We'll do that more, as you said, in the individual video. And if you made it this far in this video, you know who Sean Strickland is. He's an unorthodox striker. He's always moving forward. He's very defensive with the Philly shell. He's gritty and willing to do what he has to do to win. The real question mark in this fight, similar to what you said earlier in this show, is which Paulo Costa shows up. The question mark really is about Paulo Costa because we have the Paulo Costa that showed up against Adesanya. We have the Paulo Costa that showed up against Luke Rockhold, for example. The Adesanya one got knocked out very quickly, looked like a shell of himself after 3 minutes into that fight. He gassed out against Luke Rockhold. Yes, that was at elevation, but that wasn't a good look for him, even in a win. But then we have the Paulo Costa, Dino, that fought Yoel Romero, who was taking huge shots off of a very dangerous Yoel Romero and sitting in the pocket and trading with him. That right, the one that fought Bobby Knuckles. Shit, even the one that lost to Vittori, he looked good in that fight, and that was the fight where he like was missing weight and trying to change weight classes and shit. Look, he's super fucking dangerous. I'm glad to see Paulo Costa starting to be more active. The UFC is a better place with him active. So this is amazing, man. That head kick that he landed on Whitaker, absolutely fucking brutal considering it barely landed. So that shows you his power. I don't know that grappling comes into play in this one. I don't know who the grappling would favor in this one. To me, Dino, I think this fight takes place on the feet for as long as it lasts. And another fight I'm not comfortable with, but I have to go with Sean Strickland. I just think after he started to get that stardom and especially after he got that win against Israel Adesanya, you can see a change in Sean Strickland. He's no longer that like unhinged lunatic. He's still fucking nuts, but the guy is really more dedicated. He's getting his life together. He's at the gym 24/7. He's the captain over there at I'm sorry, what gym is that? A Syndicate, I believe.
There's something to be said, I think, about when he almost had like a little bit of that Kevin Holland going on, right? Where it was like, I don't care to be champ, dude. Like all this kind of shit, right? Yeah. But then when you become champ and you shock the world, and maybe more than anything, and maybe more importantly than anything, you shock yourself maybe to some extent. And I think there's something to be said about that. You became the champion. You've tasted it. You know that you belong there. You can get there. You've been there. So I think there's something to be said about that. Think about if Kevin Holland became champion. I think he'd be singing a little bit of a different tune, if not externally and explicitly, at least within himself.
100%. I agree with that. And by the way, it's Extreme Couture, not Syndicate. My mistake on that. But yeah, Dino, I agree with you, man. Like, I just think he's taking this shit really serious. He's the captain there. You know, you see on Embedded and on social media, he has a girl now who's like, if you're a girl fucking dating Sean Strickland, like, you know, like, what are you doing? But regardless, like, she's holding him down and she's making him more sane. So glad to see that for Strickland. Again, with Costa, man, the question mark is which Costa shows up. I think he fades late in this one, and I think we get a decision win for Sean Strickland, but he really starts running away with the fight in the 4th and 5th round.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I just want to say, though, I just want to add that it's really nice to see Paulo Costa active, really active. That's more than anything, like, for the themes of this one, that's one of my favorite parts about this. I was really I was in Dubai watching it on my fucking phone at like 10 in the morning, 7 in the morning, whatever the fuck it was in Dubai. Tripping because I I love Bobby Knuckles. I love Paulo Costa, but I think Bobby Knuckles a little bit ahead overall in terms of my personal favorite fighters. But yeah, I love to see him active. This is an unbelievable matchup. I think Sean Strickland's jab is really going to come into play here. You mentioned the grappling. I agree with you. I don't think there's any fucking chance that this comes into play. Paulo Costa's he's got the most powerful kicks probably in the entire UFC. That's my concern is like the punch combos with an ending with a head kick. Sean Strickland has to watch out for that. But we've talked about this many times before. As much as Sean Strickland loves to talk all this shit, he is one of the most defensively sound fighters. And I think that's the biggest difference here for me on paper is the defense. I just don't. Paulo Costa is a lot more hittable. And as he gets tired, and again, we've said this before too. I always harp on this. When you're that heavily muscled, you're just gonna the lactic acid is just it's physiology. It's gonna build up in your muscles. You're gonna slow down more. Sean Strickland has looked shredded his last few fights, and I expect him to come in a good shape. But he's not going to be as muscular. He's not going to be as heavy, and I think that will work to his advantage here. I think Sean Strickland gets rocked potentially even in the first couple of rounds. But I fully agree with you. I think as the fight goes on, we see Paulo Costa start to fade a little bit. And first of all, Paulo Costa I was very impressed by this sheer output versus Bobby Knuckles in the first 2-3 rounds, or the first 2 rounds, a round and a half, whatever you want to call it. But I just don't think we see that quite as much here. Sean Strickland also, he'll walk you down, right? And I just don't see Sean Strickland finding himself against the cage in this one. I could even, honest to God, I could potentially see a very late finish for Sean Strickland by TKO. Paulo Costa just eating shots against the cage.
Yeah, I don't hate that, Dino. 2 more things I just want to throw in real quick, and we're going to dive into those on the separate breakdown. So, guys, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, all that shit. But Sean Strickland, we've seen him knocked out via head kick with a spinning wheel kick by Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, who was earlier on this card. Paulo Costa lands that kick on a lot of people, so something to watch out for. And then another thing that gives me a little bit of pause in this one for Sean Strickland is obviously Sean Strickland, probably more than anyone in the UFC, or at least it's coming to mind right now, does his best work moving forward, walking you down, closing the distance, and getting into his range. Paulo Costa, not a guy that likes to move backwards at all, man. Even Duplessis was giving up some ground, and Duplessis likes to move forward. So I'm really, really interested to see how this one goes. I'm not betting it. This is like pour yourself a fucking drink, have the bottle next to you, and just sit the fuck down on the couch and enjoy it, because this is about to be a banger. There's no way this fight doesn't deliver.
You're going to be nervous even if you don't have a dog in the fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. All right. Well, let's get to the main event. And, of course, you already know what we're here for. It's Islam Makhachev versus Dustin, the Diamond Poirier. But potentially, maybe not his last fight, but, it's certainly one of his last. The way he's been talking makes it sound like it's his last. I'm going to keep this short and sweet, man. As much as I would love to see Dustin Poirier, I'm not the biggest Dustin Poirier fan, I'll be honest with you, but I respect who he is and what he's done for the sport and in the sport. He's unbelievable. He's got some of the cleanest boxing in the division. For me, man, it's all fun and games, right? But I think what this really comes down to is one man who isn't even in the cage come Saturday. And I'm talking about Khabib Nurmagomedov. Of course, he is the protege. Islam Makhachev is the protege of Khabib. You've talked about Abdul Manap in the Casuals Guide. If you guys haven't checked that out, please do so, unless you're in Korea. Sorry. They don't like us over there. They blocked us for whatever reason. Yeah, listen, man. The only way that I could see Makhachev losing this fight is if he decides to strike with Dustin, right? And the reason I say Khabib is because Khabib, there are a few fighters that he really, really respected, right? And Dustin Poirier is one of these guys, and Justin Gaethje is one of these guys. And as confident as Khabib was in himself, he was nervous against these guys, and you could tell to some extent until he felt the power, until he went in there and realized that he could just wrestle fuck the shit out of them. There's not going to be a flying ghillie, man. There's not going to be, unfortunately for all of us. I don't see it. I don't see Makhachev, especially, with Khabib in his ear. I don't see him. Khabib's not going to let him strike with Dustin Poirier, bro. Let's be honest. He's not going to do that. Islam is not that fucking stupid to do that. I think he's gonna be a first round fucking submission, man. I really do. I think it's gonna be a late first round submission for Islam Makhachev, and he defends his belt for the first time versus a 155er. There's really not much else to say for me.
Yeah. I do want to start by talking about Islam a little bit, Dino, the pound for pound #1 fighter in the world right now. So anytime that's in play, that's a fun thing to watch. Obviously, like you said, defending his lightweight title for the third time, first time against an actual legitimate 155er. Islam was very tough for me, Dino, to get a read on before his first fight with Alexander Volkanovski. And that's a lot credit to him because he was generally finishing these guys very quickly in dominant fashion. And even when he was getting to that like third round with people and stuff like that, it was pure dominance. They really had nothing for him. It was almost as if the guy was just like playing with his food, right? So we never really had a chance to like break Islam Makhachev down. Even in his loss, it happened very quickly. So it took a while, but we finally got that first Alexander Volkanovski fight. And Volk showed us that there are some holes in his game. That was a very close fight. Score it how you want. But
you know, I'm sorry to interrupt. But Volk is such a specific guy because Islam's not going to fight another 5'8" guy like that.
Right, and it's not just about the 5. Yes, the 5'8" comes into play. Volk maybe not even 5'8", but regardless, Volk being a short guy and not just being a short guy, Dino, but literally being the best fighter on the planet at that point, right? He was the #1 pound for pound guy. So it's not every day that you get to fight someone like that. But regardless, he showed that, if you have good enough striking, if you have good enough submission defense, if you're able to kind of fight back sometimes, where there's a will, there's a way to do it. It takes a special person to do it. And I'm not saying anyone can, just saying that there is a way to do it. He's not the untouchable guy that some people think he is, right? Look, the striking last time out, Dino, holy shit, looked improved as hell forever, however long that was against Volk in the second fight. Set up that head kick beautifully. Upon rewatching it, you can really see that he is setting it up the entire time, and the shit lands. Beautiful. The grappling is what it is. We already know it's going to be next level. We move on to the challenger, Dustin Poirier, veteran getting his third opportunity at undisputed gold here. And unlike Islam Makhachev, Dino, we know what the finished product of Dustin Poirier looks like. He's he's on the decline of his career. This is not the best Dustin Poirier we've ever seen. That was a couple years back. But shit, to be on the decline and get yourself a title shot at 155 shows you what kind of man and legend Dustin Poirier is in this sport and the skills that he possesses. I have no idea how the hell he was the underdog against Benoit Saint-Denis, but he went out there and, after a little bit of adversity, he found himself a knockout win. Early in his career, Dino, he was a jiu-jitsu guy, Dustin Poirier. Lots of finishes, lots of submissions. Later on in his career, obviously, we know about the boxing. We know about the knockout power. The important thing for me in this one with Dustin Poirier and where he might hold a slight advantage is for the first time ever, we're getting a guy that has fought not just Islam, or he's going to fight Islam, but he's fought Khabib before that as well. Khabib notoriously never gave rematches. Islam obviously gave one to Volk and shit, came up looking fucking golden after the second fight, right? But a lot of these fighters that have fought Khabib and have fought Islam, they say, I understand it now. I get the power. I understand what to do. I see the leverage. I see the angles, and I fix that, and I know I could win a rematch. How much of that is just you coping, and how much of that is true? I guess we're going to see. But look, interested to see what Dustin can do, Dino, given the fact that he's worked years to get back to this point to fight Khabib or fight Khabib 2.0 in Islam. But like you said, I think with Khabib Nurmagomedov being in his corner, respecting Dustin Poirier, knowing what Dustin Poirier is, he's not going to allow Islam Makhachev to fight a way that Islam may want to. And Khabib is really going to rein his ass in, and he's not going to go against Khabib's word. He's going to do exactly what Khabib's telling him to do, which we've seen time and time again. He respects Khabib like an older brother. Abdulmanap was a father figure to him. I think the guillotine memes are funny. The shine bright like a diamond shit is hilarious. The shorts look fucking awesome, by the way. Custom shorts for DP. But it ain't happening, man. Yeah, like you said, it's a round one submission for Islam Makhachev. I think he gets an arm triangle like he got Dustin, or like he got Charles with. I think we stay on the feet for maybe a minute to 2 minutes in this fight before the takedown gets shot. So we'll see. It'd be cool for DP to do it, man, but I just don't see it, you know?
Yeah, me neither, brother. Me neither. And yeah, exactly. I think 2 minutes, maybe the first half of the round, we'll see it standing. And then because he's not going to shoot, it's like Dustin's going to be expecting it off the bat.
Right.
So, but yeah, we'll see, man. Still excited for it. Still pumped to see what happens. Pumped, is Poirier going to retire or not? We'll see. Not the strongest pay-per-view card, man, but I'm pumped. It's pay-per-view UFC and it's a lot of big names and there's a lot of nice storylines here. So let's see what's good.
Yeah, look, not the best pay-per-view, but I do love the main card, especially the last 3 fights. To me, are super interesting. Seeing Kevin Holland, and then the co-main event is unbelievable, and of course, an unbelievable main event. But if you guys enjoyed, do us a favor, hit the little, where is it? Right there. Read the bottom, the like and subscribe button. That would mean the world to us. Ring the little bell. That's going to notify you when our videos drop. And we're going to drop a bunch of shit this week. We say that every week, and we never do it. We're committing. So we're going to do that for you guys. Also, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at D107MMA. Guys, I'm Dino Bam Bam. That right there is DS. I picked the right side. DS, anything left to say?
Nothing left. Just look out for the rest of the content for the week.
Look out for the rest of the stuff, guys. Again, Dino Bam Bam, DS. We're D107MMA. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.